Hello, I'm Dr. Greg Winteregg, CEO of the Private Dentist Alliance. I want to talk to all of you students out there today who are wondering what your future is going to be like as a career in dentistry. As an assistant, as a hygienist, as a dentist, where is this profession going with the rapid increase of the DSO movement? I'm here to tell you that PDA is going to help you, and I want you to become a member today. It is free. Now, why should you become a member? You're going to get weekly video updates from me, and you're going to get regular updates of our newsletters from the Alliance on exactly what is happening and how we are going to help preserve and protect the private practice of dentistry. Now, to me, the most important advantage is you are going to get access to our job board. What is that? Our private practicing members all have access to our PDA job board, which means if they have an opening in their private practice of assistant, hygienist, doctor, front office staff, they're going to be able to post it. And you're going to be able to check up regularly. And as our membership grows, we're going to be covering larger and larger territories across the United States. If you are looking for a job in any position in the office of a private practice, you need to become a student member today. It is free. Go to www.privatedental.org and become a student member today. You're going to love your benefits. Do it now.
What is up, guys? It's your boy Matt Havis back at it again with the Dental Supervised Podcast, and today we have a hot and fresh interview out for you. It's part 2 with Dr. David Maloley, and today he sits down with us to discuss all things coaching. As you know, he's a great coach, and that's what he does in his spare time and his side hustle besides clinical dentistry. And he sits down and lets you know tips in order to have the best mentality you can have in order to be the best practitioner and the best leader in your practice, to motivate your employees, to make them work harder for you, and that way you can also connect with them and have better team culture. You don't want to miss out. You want to listen to this. Check it out. Let us know what you think. Hit us up on Instagram at dental.student.vibes. Give us a like, comment, a review, whatever you think. Let's make this the best podcast that we can for you. And let's just stay safe and vibe on. It's crazy times out here.
Right. So before we get into the coaching, because we definitely want to talk about that, I just want to know a little bit more about, so you said you brought on an associate. How?
No, I didn't. I stayed solo the whole time.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So I interviewed because I was like, this is a rocket ship and I'm just going to keep building. I'll just continue to, as a achievement entrepreneur is like, there's no upper limit. So I'm just going to keep exploring where that upper limit is now. Right. And so I interviewed some associates early on, and in hindsight, it would have been reckless. I was probably overconfident because I understood marketing. I understood how to make the phone ring. Our patients, our chairs were loaded with patients. And I got it out over my skis, so to speak. Right. But I found a better path for me. And some of that was forced upon me through life circumstances, like where I just I can't hire one more person right now. But we just kept improving our people and our systems. And that's why we were able to grow for 10 years with just 4 chairs and 1,200 square feet.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So then tell me more about the coaching. So you do everything, you do coaching for dentists, you coach the teams as well?
I don't, and there's a specific reason why. And I've really got into the art and science of coaching, and I paid a lot of money for coaches and consultants myself, and I always felt like I got some gain, but was it really worth it? The ROI wasn't obvious for me, and now I know why. And it's why my program is engineered a little bit differently, because I would bring in people that would coach my team, and we get these little upticks. And then I would, I'd finish my year commitment or 6-month commitment or whatever it was. And then things would drift back to status quo, right? They were leading my organization at that time, and I didn't realize it, right? I was there every day, but they were essentially installing the new systems. So it was their wins. So I like to only work with the leader, because the changes then are permanent. They're installing it. They're working with their team. I'll occasionally get on a call with an office manager, but if I can shift the leader, I know the shift in the organization will happen. It just has to. If the leader levels up and their ability to communicate with team, run meetings, get clear on their vision, delegate, get work and worry off their plate, the organization will shift. So I intentionally remove myself from the team, because I don't want to influence them. I want their boss to influence them. So it's very much a leadership framework that will work again and again. And oftentimes, and I even see it, I'm in an executive coaching program where I'm learning for people that work with high level, like Fortune 500 executive programs. And it's kind of like the smoke and mirrors game, right? Like, you come in there, we move the bottom line, we prove the ROI, but things don't tend to stick because it didn't come from the organization. And if there's one I would call universal truth in leadership, is that if they build it, they back it. But if I prescribe something to you and your team, there's going to be resistance. Like, you can't even get a patient to finish their bottle of antibiotic. Like, compliance is horrible. But if it's their idea, if I can get the practice leader to have an idea, and I can get them to either have the team now facilitate so that they're bringing their ideas, and you can do that very easily with a strong meeting system, then change is permanent and it accelerates. So all of a sudden now we're hitting this compound growth curve where it's like, oh, it's easier, it's better, it's more fun. We're constantly innovating. Patients love it. It drives to the bottom line. You can't do that by, this hero thing where riding the white horse, spend a weekend, create a shift in the team. It has to be very organic if it's going to stick. I'm sure there's a few anomalies, but I want something tried and true that's going to work again and again.
Right. And I love what you're saying there, because I know Mark Costas, Kira Dent, they both say, have the roles and goals created by the team, and you work with them and try and steer them in the direction, but ultimately they're creating it themselves. Yeah. And so I guess that's one of the best ways to motivate and to get those things to stick.
And I had to break a ton of paradigms, because I grew up on a farm where you speak when spoken to, you respect your elders. I worked in high-level athletics, 2 national championships in Nebraska, where Tom Osborne's king and his word is deed. I was in dental school, which is very vertical, kind of intimidating environment. I was in the military. So I came in here do it because I signed your paycheck. What other reason do you need? Right. And it's so, I was so ignorant to think from that. Right. And it's even a little bit ignorant to think that a leader's job is to create followers, because what makes people come alive is when you give them mastery, autonomy, and purpose. That's essentially developing, and the leader's saying, I trust you. Go make some mistakes. I would make the same mistakes. That's what creates a powerful culture, that you don't have to worry about when you leave early for the day to go to the soccer game, that now it's gossip and drama and finger pointing and everyone's complaining about you in your absence. You just don't have to worry about it, because they've never seen that before, and they know they won't get that anywhere else. Right.
Hey, I got your next book, Leaders Develop Leaders.
I like it.
Yeah. All right. I got royalties.
Man. So now, Dr. David, you talked about the paradigm shift between, do what you're told and you respect your elders and everything your entire life until dentistry. And that's where you have to kind of instill some sort of motivation in them, and then, want your team to do it because they want to, when it comes from within them. How long did that take you to figure out? And how did you go about that change for yourself and your team?
We had a really profound shift in, I would say, 10 to 12 months, radical. And that was the time, like I knew that I was really enjoying podcasting. I was enjoying speaking. Like I wanted this side hustle and I didn't want to be distracted by office stuff. So I kind of created bright lines or boundaries of like, hey, when I'm out of here on Wednesday afternoon, like I'm gone. Like you can get a hold of me, but make sure that you've done all you can. And when you give that level, did people take advantage of me? I don't know. Like I wasn't looking at the Nest camera all day long, wondering if they're going to bleed the clock, because I know what an hour of my time is worth. Right. But things got done. The schedule was full. We were really clear on the objectives. I usually had them make it, but all of our team trainings, every month we had an hour or so meeting. We're very focused on what's working, what's not working. What's not working, we don't sit and complain about. We immediately turn that into an opportunity to get better. We assign it out super efficiently, and then we train. All of my training shifted from Invisalign, implants, sleep apnea, to getting them to think like a leader. So we used really kind of sophisticated training, and they loved it. And the cool thing about that I always wanted, somebody in dental school spoke to us and he said, I want everyone on my team to outgrow the practice. I want them to be so talented that they need to leave. And guess what the trick is? They don't want to leave, right? They just want to, if you give them more upside and more responsibility, more training and more pay, then they don't ever want to leave. So it's that kind of dichotomy. And I live in a resort town. I know people are going to leave. I turn over my team every 2 years or so. It's a cost of living gets to them. They go back to St. Louis or Kansas City or Denver or whatever. And I made that my goal, is that they were going to leave better people, not better dental employees, better people than when they came in. And I fired people. I think they left better. I think we shifted mindsets. I know a lot of the things we taught that made them more capable in the dental practice, made them also better spouses and parents. So it's really showing that level of investment and not being stingy. Like, okay, like I poured into you for 5 months. I know you're moving. Like, it's not what I would have designed, but why argue with reality? You may have taken more and I may have given more. That's fine. But I felt like that act of generosity, of just like giving until it hurts, gets you more than what you give. So it's like, dentists think very black and white. That's very gray and obscure, but I just see it time and time again. And do people take advantage of it? Yeah, you'll get taken advantage of. Not everyone's high integrity. Not everyone is in it for the team or patient care, and they'll eventually expose themselves and leave the team. But the cost of not doing that to your top talent means they go find greener pastures. And I wasn't willing to not have the best team in town. I knew that was my competitive advantage.
Gotcha. Love that.
Probably a year of training, a very intensive training, and all of our one-on-ones and all of our department meetings followed those same themes. So it was just like, we just got more and more and more momentum. And we're hitting a critical mass in the practice where I didn't need to market anymore. It was all coming from referrals and reviews. And so it was just like a really sweet intersection of lots of equity that we'd built up in the community at that point in time.
That's incredible. Wow. So before we wrap up here, I want to get some quick questions, a couple dental dimes for you. So what are some of the best CEs that you've taken, or some of them, the CEs that you're looking at right now? I know everything's on a webinar or on Zoom or whatever right now. It's kind of, but hopefully we'll get back to it soon. So what are some of the best CEs?
I think it's just like the best book that we were talking about before. Like, I think it's a steady diet. One thing that I would encourage is that if you want to have a robust career, add in a pseudo specialty every year. So say you're out and it's 2023, say, this is my year for implants. What dentists tend to do is they dabble and then they fact find and they're like, oh, maybe one more CE. And now they've taken 4 weekends of implants and they haven't even placed the green light simple implant, right? And so there are lots of good education out there, but develop your skill set, because if you get on this path, it's all these things that we talk about, they start to stack, right? So you're very replaceable when you first get out of school. but then you add in this specialty. And then because how you'll get compensated is based on the complexity of problems that you can solve. And so it may just be that you have such great customer service that people trust you. You've solved a big problem when people can say, hey, you need to go see my dentist because you'll feel like you're at home, right? That's solving a complex problem. And so you start stacking these. So I'm really hesitant to pick one because what's the quote? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. There's also a lot of bad stuff out there. So make sure that it's really teaching you something that you can take home on Monday. The other thing that I would say is that steady diet's really important, because anything that's worthwhile in doing in dentistry, you can't figure it out in a weekend. So you're going to get all pumped up, and then you're going to, what Mike Tyson used to say, everyone has a game plan until they get punched in the mouth. And usually Monday morning is you get punched in the mouth, and you're like, when am I going to get into this one? And then all of a sudden you drift back to old habits. So it really takes dedication and multiple inputs and a sustained education to make sure that you're ramping up until you've installed it as like, okay, I get Invisalign, I'm ready to do brackets and wires, or I can do easy lower molar cases on implants, but now I need something in an aesthetic continuum to make sure that I've that the gum architecture and things like that look really good on 8 and 9 when I place those. So to me, it's all about habit formation. And so the one-off recommendation would be in contrast to my like core beliefs and how do we go there? So Steady Diet podcast. I mean, there's the stuff that is available for free would have cost $50, $60, $70, $80,000 a year when I came out of school. So you just have to make sure that you're cultivating it and staying really focused, because man, it's noisy. Like it is so noisy. And I like bright, shiny objects, and I got distracted so many times getting sold on someone else's vision and version of success. So just making sure that we're stacking those skill sets. So we're the go-to in town. That's the trajectory that I'd encourage anyone to get on, because what we're seeing in the tech curve is that winner takes most. So playing for second place on reviews or being the second best dentist in town, I mean, best is subjective, of course, but you get the idea, is a losing game. So put in the extra little effort, a little bit more focus, and be like a horse and win by a nose, and you get the whole purse. You get the notoriety, you get all that sort of stuff, because then you can shut down your marketing. Those $5,000 or $6,000 a month go straight into your pocket. Patients come in pre-warmed, they already like you because their neighbor told you about you. Like that's the thing I would say, is really focus on a steady diet of marketing, leadership, business acumen, and just never stop. Just keep your foot on the dang gas.
The Relentless Dentist. Let's go, baby. Yes, sir. All right. So 2nd out of 3 questions. I'm taking this from Tim Ferriss. What's a product or service, either in your personal life or like through your practice, that you've gotten in the last year, 2 years? Don't say that cone bean. Should have gotten the Lambo. But yeah, which one has been had the greatest effect on you in the past year or 2?
So I kind of end up in these rabbit holes, and I get a little bit over the top about engineering habits. And the thing that I've been focused on the last year is sleep. And there's several things that have completely changed my sleep game. So I could wake up like fired up and ready to go first thing in the morning. And so that leads into a morning routine, but you can have the most awesome morning routine in the world, and if your sleep sucks, then, so to me, like that is a keystone habit. Like if you can nail that, then you're good. And you get out of bed in the morning as a designated time. So for me, it's the chili pad. A thermostat that controls the temperature. I could give you like 5 or 6 or 7 or 12 things else I'm doing differently with my sleep. But if I were going to dial it down to one, it's like not having that kicking the covers off, all that sort of wrestling match, and just knowing like my sleep is the same every single night. I almost hesitate to go to a hotel now, because even in their most comfy bed, like it's not as good as what I've got engineered at home.
That's
Very
crazy. Cool. All right. Well,
we need
I guess we're gonna have to
jump on the chili pads.
Yeah. All right. So awesome. The last question. All right, you're gonna have to throw me a bone here. Okay. What's one? I just came up with this off the top of my head. what's one system or protocol, or whatever you want to call it, that you teach your clients that is really like a needle mover?
It won't sound as sexy as it is, but it's a strong meeting rhythm. Making sure that you have an annual meeting that doesn't suck. That sets the sales for the year. You get really clear on the outcomes for the year. And then that spells out into monthly meetings that are just like religion. Like, I don't care if 8 veneers walks in the door at 5 o'clock, like you're having that meeting. Mm-hmm. And then you distill that down to department meetings, one-on-one meetings, team lead meetings, and that you're just constantly delegating and getting things done, because dentists are invariably the bottleneck. And if you don't have a system for that to communicate the targets, one, like the most frustrating thing for a dentist is that team members aren't doing what they want them to do, but they haven't told them. So now all of a sudden team members are trying to hit targets that they can't see. And then you get frustrated, and then they become risk averse and scared. If we don't have a communication channel to make sure that all team members are growing at all times, you're immediately making your job harder. And dentists don't want to step into that because they've never run a meeting. So you have to give yourself permission to suck, because you suck at everything that you do for the first time. Walking, biking, first crown prep, first DO, first everything. So you have to be willing to be ignorant, be humble, and just dive into it and know that that's such an important infrastructure. I mean, can you imagine like Johnson & Johnson or some big company like not having meetings? Like it's insane to think about that, but dentists will go years without a meeting, or they'll install meetings and they'll just be me dictating to team, which is probably worse than not having the meeting, because they're just rolling their eyes and looking at their watches. So a really strong meeting structure that trains and develops your team, that gives them a voice. And I think the key that I would give to you is, if you're talking more than 20% of the meeting, you're talking too much. It doesn't matter what meeting it is. So a lot of it should be asking questions and facilitating conversation. And that might be talking to your wallflower and saying, hey, Aaron, what do you think? I haven't heard from you in a while. And just making this environment where not speaking up constructively is not okay, where gossip is not okay. Like, you got a problem? Let's solve it. What's the solution? What are we going to do about it? The answers don't have to come from headquarters. They should come from you. Like, you're super resourceful people. That's why I hired you. So that, you can tell I'm a pretty fundamental guy. Like, I want things that work all of the time, every single time, no matter the environment, no matter big or small. And that's one thing that's easy to sweep under the rug. But once you create a meeting rhythm and an annual calendar that you don't ever mess with, like first Tuesday evening of the month, we're having a meeting. And this is what the meeting looks like. No surprises. This is the agenda every single time. This is what we're going to do. This is what a one-on-one meeting looks like. It's not an evaluation. I'm not the judge, jury, and executioner. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know what your ideas are. I want to know what your goals are within your job scope, all those sorts of things. Like, that is an infrastructure that can keep a organization growing perpetually. And that's why I go back to best year every year, because you can work less and make more if you're constantly bringing out the best in people. And if you don't have that infrastructure, I don't know how you would do it.
There it is.
Incredible.
It is.
That is
straight from the source.
I yield.
All right, Dr. Dave, this has been, I wish we could talk more, but I know you got a lot of things to do. Can you give our listeners all your contact information, where they can find out more about you, Relentless Dentist, all of that, coaching, everything?
Yeah, so my headquarters is relentlessdentist.com. All my work is virtual. I think I'm seeing the blessing in disguise with the COVID. We don't need to get in, viral airplanes or viral hotel rooms. Like, we can communicate very efficiently and effectively with reduced costs. So I'm completely revamping my coaching model to serve that need and create, more impact. So that's all to come. It'll launch in September, but I'm fairly active on Instagram. I could use some more meeting rhythm as far as Instagram goes.
All right, hold on 1 second. I messaged you on Instagram and boom, scheduled a Zoom meeting with you. Like that, I couldn't have asked for more. It's awesome. I appreciate it again. Thank you so much.
I must have came off a hiatus and the timing is right. But everything's on relentlessdentist.com. The podcast, anything I ever build will be there. And so I love connecting with ambitious people who want particularly more for their lives. You know what I mean? Like, we can engineer dentistry to give you whatever you want, but that blueprint is hard to find, and you kind of have to build it to make sure it's your own model and is something that you're proud of. So thanks for the opportunity to connect. I think that's the coolest thing about this platform, is that you can get access to like really incredible ideas. And I always think about planting seeds, because I grew up on the farm. Like, the seeds we talked about today may not impact you for 7 years, but hopefully I said something today that'll be like, oh, it doesn't have to be that way. I should question this. I can engineer it in a way that serves me and my life and my family and my practice, and I don't have to listen. There's a Mark Twain quote that I think all dentists should listen to again and again. He says, once you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to pause and reflect. Like, just don't find yourself with the herd, right? And if I can help that journey in any way, I'm happy to do it. So thank you for giving me a platform, and thank you for the connection. I really appreciate what you're doing here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Dave. You're the man.
Thank you for sitting.
You're very welcome.
All right, guys. So that'll do it for our interview with Dr. David Maloley, part 2, all about coaching and everything. We hope you guys got a lot of info out of this. We really loved talking to him. If you guys have any other topics that you want to hear about, let us know. Let's try to have him back on. And he has a wealth of information about so many things in dentistry. We can really learn a lot from him. So as always, give him a follow on Instagram. And let's thank him for just doing a phenomenal job knocking it out of the park. We really appreciated it. And as always, stay safe and vibe on.